Thank you guys, thank you guys. Well, welcome. Welcome to beautiful Deal Maker, guys. I am excited to be here. As Sweet Jim introduced, I have been making my breadwinning with Airbnb corporate housing. I'm hearing a little feedback. Is that okay for everybody? Yeah, okay. And that's what we're going to dive into. All right. So this is my disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only. I try to ensure that everything is up to date to the best of my knowledge. And other than that, I hope that everyone gains something valuable from this. So when I first got started, I really dove into the corporate housing market, and I still do that. There's not a whole lot of difference between Airbnb and corporate housing as far as the dwelling being set up, fully furnished, all inclusive with things like utilities, lawn care, pest control, that kind of all in one place where people just bring their bags, right? So I started with that 30-day plus market. And then I kind of dwindled down into Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, these channels. And I went that direction because I realized that as I optimized my systems, I could tap into these markets, which actually gave me a better return. And for most people, that tends to be the case. But how many of you guys know what Airbnb is? Do we need, oh, okay. Yeah, billion-dollar company, gone public. Everyone knows what that is. So of the entire travel worldwide, this is from Travel Industry Association of World Tourism, there are about 1.9 billion trips booked worldwide per year. And of those, 10.6 million are booked directly on Airbnb. That's nearly 15% of the market is held directly in one company. Whoa, that's huge and a really big market to tap into, especially considering that you can do this on a micro level. Like you could, one of your bedrooms could become an Airbnb. It doesn't even have to be an entire house. You could go rent an underperforming property like an apartment, and that's called rental arbitrage or rent to rent or master leasing, right? So different areas, they refer to it as different things, but there are lots of ways to dip your foot into this market. And I would say that for a lot of people, you can start up an Airbnb between 6,000 and 7,000, like base. I mean, that's pretty cheap considering for a real estate strategy. I mean, we're talking about the American dream, right? Buying real estate, trading real estate. This is one of the most expensive assets that we'll ever own. So tapping into that sometimes can seem really challenging, but it's a lot more opening whenever you know you can do it for that bottom dollar. All right, so why join the short-term rental market? All right, so according to Price Economics, Airbnb hosts on net on average per month $924, that's net, per unit, okay? That is a national average. That is fabulous. Compare that to your 1% rentals, or maybe if you're in California, a 1.5 or 2% rentals, the return is excellent. You're not going to be like this gentleman here. How many of you guys have been him, right? After your tenants check out, I know you have, John. I've seen the pictures, my goodness. Sometimes, man, my heart just breaks when I see that. I'm like, oh gosh. Yes, your standard landlord, sometimes when they've stayed there for 12 months, 24 months, they never tell you about this built-up maintenance bill. You get in the property, not only were they slobs, but they broke a lot of things, and you're stuck with a $10,000 bill. There's no more evictions, and I shouldn't say no more. It does happen, but it's very rare, and you can actually get insurance that will cover these type of evictions. The company that I use is National Real Estate Investors Group. NREG.com is how it's referred to, and they offer just a peace of mind. And I think the leading national one is Prosper? Yeah. Proper? Okay. Yeah, but that's not who I use, but I like, both companies are really good. There's no more chasing down rent payments. A lot of you guys do this. So I had it with, we've got just a few standard rentals that are still operating out there. And I had this one guy just have to keep chasing him down, and he'll pay me a percentage, and it rolls over to the next month. I'm done with all that. I'm tired of that. I've gotten a belly full, and you should too. And so I highly think everyone should get into this. All right. So some of the myths about Airbnb. Your rental income will no longer be Schedule E. This right here was provided to our network by Walter Wilford, and it's directly from H&R Block. I'm sorry. And if you follow this little diagram, it says start, did you personally reside or stay at the property during the tax year? For most people, that's going to be a no if this is an investment property strictly. Did you provide substantial services to guests? I know it's called Airbnb, but most people do not provide breakfast, you guys. Most people don't go above and beyond like a hotel would necessarily, right? So if that is a no, then that rental income goes on Schedule E, okay? If you want to tap into this market, which is much higher returns than your standard rent, and you're on the 30-day or more, so the extended stay corporate housing model, still, you're getting standard landlord tax deductions. You're month to month. What a beautiful thing, right? You can no longer vet your guests. That's not true. In my ad, I have, if I open up that ad for someone to book like more than 14 days, and they do, then I let them know that after they book, I am going to send them a link from apartments.com where I am going to, at their cost, pay for a $24.99 background check and soft credit screening and background check. They fill it out, it comes back to me. If I'm good with it, then I proceed with the reservation, right? If not, then I give them their money back, happily. So you can still vet the people, but I will say, I can be a control freak. Sometimes, if they've got a lot of good reviews and from other hosts, sometimes it's okay just to relinquish some of that control, right? Your property is going to become a party house. So this is the very first thing that the neighbors think when you tell them, hey, we've got an Airbnb next door. And don't be in the closet about this, guys. Do tell your neighbors. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to become your best watchdogs. When you tell them, we have a strict no event policy, we have a strict no party policy, when that happens at your property and they have your phone number, they're going to call you first. They're not going to call the police. There's not going to be curiosity killed the cat. They're not going to be, curious anymore. And all that is summed up, and they can really be an asset to you. And generally the party house stuff, it does not happen as often as people think it does. Let's see. You will have to manage your business like a hotel. You know what? How many of you guys, just being transparent, did not work in your business when you started it? We all did. We all do, or we all did. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being transparent about that. But there is a point where you can transition yourself out of that once you've really gotten systems in place, methods and systems. And that's what we're going to talk about, is how do you get those systems in place to remove yourself? Well, you do not have to run this like a hotel, for sure. There are streamlining ways to just pull yourself through this, but setting everything up, it is going to take some time and effort, unless you go directly to a type of virtual co-host or virtual property management company. I haven't found too many, like locally to us especially, that manage Airbnb corporate housing, but I'm sure in some destination towns there are. We just don't have it locally. But some virtual property management companies or professional hosting services, as they're referred to, are Plum Guide, Plumguide, Plum Guide. So they will manage your property and cleanings and everything. Guest Ready and Housed, Houst. So these are just to name a few. If you want to find active co-hosts in your area who are managing properties just like yours, what you can do is go to airbnb.com/d/hosting-services. And at that link, anybody feel free to take a picture of this. I see some of you like holding your cameras down. Any of my slides you can take a picture of. Any of these slides that you want a copy of, note what slide or what topic it is, and you can send that inquiry to Ginger, GINGER.home, HOME, resurrection, RESURRECTION, @gmail.com. That's my assistant. She will send you a slide. I'll tell you that email again at the end of the presentation. So take pictures, whatever you need to do. Essentially, I have lived these stages and levels of hosting, and I've learned that there are ultimately 3 stages, right? We've got beginner, intermediate, and expert. And between this beginner, which this is very exciting, right? You're just getting started. And then about 4 or 5 properties in, that's generally where people start losing their mind. We call that the hectic host stage. How many of you guys, I see some of you are like, yeah, that's me, you know? So if you're living in that hectic host stage, it's time to transition, right? Get out of your own way. And go into the intermediate and expert phase. These are generalities, you know, so 1 to 4 properties is beginner, intermediate 4 to 9, and then 9+ is generally expert. But by the time you've crossed these 2, you've been forced to either offhand hand it to some kind of property management company or automate and optimize your in-house workings, right? So the rest of the presentation, we're really going to drag this theme through about where you are, and I want to touch home for every person in this room, whatever stage you're at, right? Yeah, okay. When you are a beginner, market research, right? Don't just dive in, just don't think, oh, grandma's house is probably the best. It might not be, and you could be really, really disappointed if it's not. So a good question to ask is, what will my occupancy rate be? And one way to kind of find that out is by looking for all the extended stay hotels in your local area. Think about it, guys. These companies, they do millions of dollars worth of research before they build that building. The Comfort Inns, right, the Home2 Suites, they're not gonna build that building without at least, the Comfort Inns, you know, stat was 72% occupancy rate. So what does that tell you about the local market, okay? There's a lot to be said for being within a 5-mile radius of those hotels. So look for that, right? The next thing you can do is you can get on airdna.co. That is a data aggregator. What does that mean? It pulls from Vrbo, Airbnb, Booking.com, Yelp, TripAdvisor, all the travel channels. And it takes all this information, including the local event calendars with your news channels, and it measures supply and demand. So by learning how to use airbnb.co, you're gonna learn, or I'm sorry, airdna.co, you're gonna learn what the properties in your micro community, what do they look like? How do they perform? Who's your target market? So how are you designing that property, right? All those answers can be found there. Airbnb, that's really not your best place for market research because your neighbor might not know. They might not have done the research. But all this to say, and I learned this really thoroughly from Miss Wendy Sweet, that even the properties that are like in the tier 2 area outside of town, maybe non-destination properties, can still make a fabulous return. And there is actually a tool that can kind of help you sum all this up. If you go to host, H-O-S-T, financial.com, hostfinancial.com, they have a little host calculator, and it's pulling its data from AirDNA, and you can put in your address, bedroom, bath, and it will tell you what they expect your nightly returns and average occupancy rate is. Okay, I'm like, what is this, guys? It'll tell you what your average occupancy rate is. What am I doing here? And so essentially, hostfinancial.com, if you guys are a lot of flippers or burring, but instead of selling that property or refinancing as a 12-month rental, if you want to keep that, Host Financial will actually refinance the property on projected rents. You do not even have to have the property seasoned. You don't have to own it yet. Wow, that is huge because this is a market where a lot of institutional lenders like banks, credit unions, they're not super comfortable with. There's some insurance hiccups, I think. This company, I am doing my first BRRRR with them currently. So ask me later and I'll let you know how it ends, right? What are the advantages that the public seek from going from Home2 Suites to your place, right? A lot of them, they're looking for the full-size kitchen, right? They're looking for that in-unit washer and dryer. They're looking for private free parking. All these things, generally, they're gonna find that plus a discount. So often you can pull in easily 80 to 90% what these guys are charging. All right? So, I'm gonna move on here. Target market. It's based on your location, or is it based on your location? So are you at like the beach or, you know, a destination? Who is your target market? Vacationers, hipsters, right? So I've got a couple properties where all the best performing super hosts in my area, I noticed that they all had like this really, I'm gonna call it bougie vibe. A lot of like canvas art, a lot of velvets, a lot of bright colors. And I realized that it's because it was a very hipster, young, I'm gonna give you a city, Asheville, North Carolina kind of vibe. Whoop, whoop, I heard you. So define who your target market is. For me, I have defined my target market as solo travelers and business travelers alike. Why? And how do I really categorize my portfolio to match that? And this is totally me, you guys. I have friends who will only buy 6, 7, 8 bedroom properties with 3, 4 baths. For me, I want 2 bedroom, 1 bath, or 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I want to keep the property small. And with that, I attract my demographic, and I don't have families there. I don't have the problems that can come with children or pets, right? What are the other benefits for me for that model? I can stage it, furnish it really quickly, it's inexpensive, right? Because it's tiny. The utilities are cheaper every month. My cleaners can get in and they can get out. So for me, this model works. But I decided that based on my target market. So you can attract graduate students. Graduate students, as great as they are, we can assume they're young. We can assume that they will stay for a long time. So what a beautiful perk that is, right? You're getting this higher nightly rate and they're staying for a while. But I will say, I know Jim loves some traveling nurses. All the traveling nurses and graduate students that I come across, they generally don't have a problem asking for a large discount, like 30% or less. So just be aware, you have every right as owner to say no. In our market, I think I can get my fair price. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't be desperate to get the booking is what I'm saying. Is it retirees? Is it home builder clients? Refinery workers? Military, business travelers? Insurance? Traveling nurses? Entertainment industry workers? Or traveling welders? For our local community in Huntsville, Alabama, we do have what's called Redstone Arsenal. It is the heartbeat of our city. Uncle Sam never stops spending money. I say that. I lost $42,000 right when COVID hit, right in March. I had a panic attack. Why? Across my portfolio, everyone canceled. I had to refund money. And then I had to pivot. And about 3 weeks later, I came back with $53,000. So I rebooked and made a little more, but I still didn't feel like steady about it. I do now, but it was very scary time for me. But home builder clients, military, and business travelers. Let's see. Those are my primary clients I target. Who's on your team? So again, we're in this vetting beginning stage. Who do we need to make this happen? The number one complaint is cleanliness. Now, I'm not even gonna list this as a complaint, but safety. If a woman would not walk down the street at night and feel comfortable, you might be in the wrong area, okay? There's no amount of them arriving, not feeling safe, and they won't leave happy. And if they do leave, you're leaving with a refund and now you're stuck with a vacancy. Avoid vacancy at all costs. So I really do want to say that finding a place where someone can feel safe is a big deal. But as far as complaints from guests who are actually already booked, cleanliness, number one complaint, right? Cleaning cost. So for me, whenever I have that in-house, those cleaning costs are about anywhere from $45 to $55 per cleaning. But whenever I outsource to something like Turnover, Turnover, bnb.com. This is a place where you can integrate your calendar to, and you can have cleaners select which opening they want to clean, right? When you're on that platform, it's pretty normal for people or the cleaner to actually charge $75+ and depending on the size of the property, 75 to like 120. But I will say that it is getting more and more common for hosts to charge the guest all, if not a very significant portion of that cleaning cost. Anywhere from $85 to $110 is pretty normal on cleaning costs for you to charge the guest. So most of that, you know, you can get back. Lawn care costs. So for me, I had a lawn care company and I told them I wanted it done during the season, every 10 days, 14 days, please go in, mow it. And I just kind of banked that that would get done. It did not always get done. So now I have that same policy where they can go in and clean my, or mow my properties, but I want a before picture and an after picture. So now I don't have to physically drive by everything. So I'm gonna suggest maybe you ask for the same thing. But the cost for that, for me, they range anywhere from $45 to $70, depending on how big the lot is. 2 handymen for maintenance. So I have a on-call one for daytime and an on-call one at nighttime. This is an active conversation I have with these guys. And they know that if they come in at 11 o'clock at night to pull that Tonka toy out of the toilet, I'm gonna make it worth their time, right? So do the same, take good care of your guys. And I will say the one that's on call for during the day, make sure that this is a very presentable person, both, hopefully. But the one especially is gonna come in contact with the guest a lot more will be the one during the day. Make sure that person is approachable, professional, that kind of stuff. And that's easy to find, guys. Optional, so you're still in this beginning phase. You could hire a co-host, which really that person takes over communications, customer service, that kind of stuff. But for most of us business control freaks, right? We like to hang on to the reins of that. And most actually hang on to that and keep doing it. But you can also hire a VA out of the Philippines would be my suggestion. And that's strictly because they have good English. They have, generally their rates are very, very, let's say friendly. Anywhere from $4, $12 per hour. And a lot of them you can find for $4 to $8 an hour. That's pretty common, right? So you can always get those tasks hired out. So listing online, it does not matter how cute your house is. It does not matter how hard you work to get it set up. It does not matter how much money you have put into it. If you list it on this one channel, just one, and you don't get any action, and then you're like, oh, let's give up. Why? This is just an algorithm. This is just a piece of software. So if you're basing everything you've done off of how is this going to perform, you really need to think about and study how to input the data on your actual listing, okay? But just for basics, Superhost, they make 2 times as much. It's not that hard to become a Superhost, guys. I think I did it within like the first month and a half whenever I originally started this, and a little, you know, it was a beginner's trial at first, but my first property, how I became Superhost, I got thank you cards, and I got 10 of them, and I went down to the closest tavern, little bar joint that was close to the house. I bought 10 $10 gift cards, and I put them in the thank you letters, and on the inside, I made it real simple. I asked them for what I wanted. I said, hi, thanks for booking with us. We hope to earn your 5-star review. Here's a free drink down at the tavern on us. Best, the Durbins. And that was it. My husband's last name is Durbin. Mine is still Merriman. But so, yeah, that was how I got 10 5-star reviews. Is that worth $100? Absolutely. Why? Because Superhosts make 2 times as much. They're going to push your listing up in the algorithm, okay? Up in the channel. The exact location is not disclosed until after they book. I get asked that all the time, and it's a fair reason to panic because people are like, oh, there's these beautiful pictures. They know my house is empty. Yeah, I get it. But no, they don't get that till afterwards. Quality professional photos. All right. I have every reason to take professional photos myself. I have a professional camera. I was a designer. I have everything ready to go. I do not do this, you guys, still, because I'm telling you, there is something to be said for a professional coming in and removing that job, that task from your plate of editing and everything else. It's worth the $175 to $250. Call someone in and you'll end up with 50 beautiful photos. Another thing is, if you're gonna be that person who takes your own photos, put the toilet seats down. My goodness, what's wrong with you guys? I can't tell you how many students and clients to me, they're like, look at my beautiful photos. I'm like, oh, what did you do? Put that toilet seat down. Having a catchy title. Okay, so this title, this is one of my listings. This is called the Executive Victorian Penthouse in 5 Points, right? Who would want to say the Victorian Penthouse? So, it's a beautiful property, but I want you to also notice that of the first 5 photos, it's really common for people to have one of like the outside of the house and then the living room and all the rest be the living room, then all the rest be the kitchen. The first 5, I selected the living room, the kitchen, the master bedroom, the spare bedroom, and the master bath. Why did I do that? Because this is their first impression. I wanted them to see everything at once. I didn't want them to see just one room. So there's a note. A very catchy title, of course, as well as an unexaggerated listing description. A lot of people really like blow their place up, and then whenever people get there, they're kind of like, they're kind of bummed, right? So sometimes it's better to just be really honest and say, hey, we have just stainless steel appliances instead of like commercial grade, da-da-da, you know, like just, it is what it is, and then wow them when they arrive, okay? Eliminate communication. So if your job is to manage most of the communication, the bookings, that kind of stuff, then you want to eliminate as much of the chatter as you can. I do this with a bulletin board. And on my bulletin board, I have all my pages, which are like 7 or 8, and they're laminated. And I was using what they refer to as a host guidebook, and usually it's a little cute book that sits on the coffee table, and you're welcome to do that. But I noticed that my guests did not read the guidebook as much as they read the bulletin board. So that was my 2 cents on it. But if you do want to make your own host guidebook, you can get a digital and a printable form at TravelAid, www.travelade.com, okay? So you can have some of that information already drafted for you, but I really like to flood them with information when they get there, because now they truly do try to read a lot of it before they come to you with questions. And it's just a great way, after they'll book, I'll send them pictures of like what's inside the cabinets, looking out the window, looking down the street, like everything. They just get a little Dropbox link with all that in there. Automatic messages. So this is, improvements list. You guys see this? I love this. Okay, so this is a physical piece of paper that hangs on my bulletin board. It's got a little pin and it's not laminated where they can write on it. Essentially, it says, please let us know what we have overlooked that is broken, missing, or needing our attention. You know what I just did? I got that negative complaint out on this piece of paper. It never made it to my review board, right? That is so convenient and nice. And my cleaner, they can just plug it off and they take it with them, they replace it, and they let me know. But I can eliminate so many nasty, snarky comments just by getting it out on this physical piece of paper. Automatic messages. So you can set up a message whenever the guest books, a thank you, thanks for choosing us, whenever they arrive. So what is the code, the digital code to get into the house, where to park, what day does the trash go out, all this can be set up automatically, okay? Photo link at booking, we talked about that, and then supply and restocking list for cleaners. So if you're just starting out and you're in that beginner phase, Google or Gmail, when you get a Gmail, you get something called Google Suites, and it's such a beautiful tool to use between your cleaners and your staff for keeping up with lists and communication about what properties need what and everything that needs to be done. Maybe even that goes as far as like quarterly or annual cleanings, like the curtains need to be washed, right? Keep up with all that there. Okay, so stocking the house. I will say in my office, me and my assistant, we have decided to use these 3 companies primarily, and we've got most of the links for the items that we use, and we just keep reordering. But Sam's Club, Amazon, and Dollar Tree, y'all, Dollar Tree, we can hate on it, but ooh, it's a good thing. Yeah, bless me. I can appreciate it. Oh, look, a free checklist. What a sweet executive assistant I have. You can get a free checklist at alishamerriman.com. So if you guys want to get a copy of some of the regular items we purchase, there's probably hundreds of items on that list, but go to www.alisha, A-L-I-S-H-A, Merriman, M-E-R-R-I-M-A-N.com, and you can get that. I think you got to give me your email. Thank you. Owner's pantry with the lock. So we have made it just our basic, across every property, that we create some kind of closet or even a cabinet. Or if there is no space in this house, we'll buy one of those little $200 exterior cupboards that you can put on the outside of the house or on the back porch, and we'll lock up a cabinet. That becomes our owner pantry. It also becomes a place where we can restock everything. So I like, and this is just my policy, you guys will create new rhythms and new policies and systems, but I have one set of linen in the pantry, and then there's a set of linen in the actual unit that someone used. When my cleaners arrive, they just pull the old linen, they can put that in a bag, tie it up, and sit it outside, and I'm actually gonna send someone by because I have a designated runner. That person's gonna scoop up those linens and take them back to the office to be washed, and then that cleaner, instead of waiting hours for the washing and drying cycle to go through, they just pull the fresh linen and put them out, right? And then on the next go around, my runner is gonna go drop off restocking supplies and those linen. So it's a really, really nice system that I've gotten in place, but it did not come instantly, okay? I would just suggest having a second set there so you can take those linen home with you. If you're the one cleaning it or you've got a cleaner there with you, wash them at home and bring them back, right? Okay, whenever you provide food, that's a great thing. What a sweet thing to have a couple snacks there when your guests arrive. I do that, but I will say I'm really particular that I do not put out anything that is a common allergen, like peanuts. Why? If children are coming, who's the first one inside the house? What do they do first? They grab the snacks off the top, and you don't want them to just like willy-nilly grab something. Maybe they're allergic to peanut butter. So think about that. Extension cords, and these are just some little tips and tricks. Sorry. Extension cords. So we get the little cheap Dollar Tree extension cords, and we actually put those behind the beds because people will realize that you thought about them. When they're plugging up their CPAP and they don't have to pull out the bed, you made their day. Like, they notice that kind of stuff. When they don't have to pull out the couch to plug up their cell phones, think about those kind of things for your guest. Digital locks and a manual lock. I always have a digital PIN code lock that's on the actual door, and then I have decided it's part of our policy to have a backup manual lock, and we have that somewhere screwed to the house on the porch or something like that, and they don't get the code to that backup. Why? I was in Cuba, and one of my guests called me and said, hey, our digital door lock is dead. I was like, oh no. Well, not only do I have terrible service, but now I have to figure out how to get someone to give them a key and get it over there. Meanwhile, they're just sitting out front waiting. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what a disaster. So being able to give someone a physical key from a secondary location, that's not a bad idea, and it's become standard for us. We like TLC and Westinghouse 4K Roku TVs. I do prefer Roku over Amazon. There are a lot of reasons, and I have a few horror stories as I can tell you why, but that buy now instant button isn't as private as you think it is. Number one, that instant checkout. But Roku, there's none of that. They're not able, you don't even have to put a card on file with that Roku account. So I choose Roku as my streaming service. Duvet covers. So all linen duvet covers, I choose white because the guests can walk in, and the moment they walk in, they look at it, not only does it scream luxury, but they can at a glance know it's clean. We've implemented quite a few cleaning policies, and I'll tell you, some of them are our dishes. When the last guest left, and all this is since COVID, guys, we will wash the dishes in the dishwasher, and then I have a little laminated sign that sits on the counter that says all your dishes are below, and they've been sanitized, and we let them pull them out. They feel better about it instead of us putting them in the cupboards, right? Another thing that you can do is after you wash your towels and extra blankets or whatever, you can tie a little ribbon around them. That lets them know, hey, this has been addressed, this has been cleaned. So doing those little thoughtful things go a long way, and you're gonna hear about it in your reviews. Pump shampoo. This is a cleanliness thing. We did the little clippy things, and all my cleaners, they never got them really clean. They looked crusty on the shampoo. So the pumps, they just run them under hot water and we move on, and the guest feels better about it. Mattresses, I'm gonna highly suggest 12-inch memory foam mattress. You don't necessarily have to buy an expensive box spring anymore. They sell platform frames, and those metal frames, a lot of them are like 12 to 14 inches off the ground already, and you don't even need that box spring. So just skip that purchase altogether, save some money. I definitely suggest mattress covers. It's happened to me twice where someone screamed bed bugs, but they were no bed bugs. I sent an exterminator to prove it and check. And it just so happens in North Alabama, we have like this flood of ladybugs, and these people are from Canada. You know, up north, I guess they don't get floods of ladybugs. And they thought they were being attacked by bed bugs. So, in both situations, it was ladybugs, and they thought they were bed bugs because bed bugs are like a reddish color, whatever. Anyways, mattress covers that are waterproof and have zippers, I have not found those at a single retail store high quality. They always kind of rip on the edges. You can order really good ones from Amazon, and that's in my little checklist that my assistant gave you probably. All right. So now we are kind of we're stepping into that intermediate phase. Now I just said you got done figuring out all that other stuff and you were in the throes of it. This is where you kind of start to get out of your own way and set up systems. And this is really where you start to optimize, leverage, and scale your business. Usually this happens between 4 or 5, 6 short-term rentals for most people. They were previously in what they call the hectic host stage. Miss Pam Whitworth gave me that. I thought that was the cutest thing, hectic host. I was like, I lived that. But if you imagine these houses right here in this circle as your portfolio, you've got your portfolio of houses on Airbnb. But now what? How do you start to let go of some of these responsibilities you have? Well, first, you convert your Airbnb, you integrate is the actual word, all your listings onto what's called a PMS or an API software. What is this? It is the brainchild of the business. Essentially, every other tool or automated application that you have, the communication, the cleaning, everything, the revenue management software is all housed with this piece of software. You can subscribe to them, guys, monthly. They're not even that crazy expensive. So a really good one that I wish I had selected in the beginning, because I realized that all the functions that I needed were there, but I got married to another software. I got married to Guesty, which Guesty made me actually keep the, I have to pay for it for a year regardless of whether or not I use it, but Smart BNB is the one I would have chosen. I think they were just bought out by Hostable. Yep, some people are telling me, yep, it's Hostable, okay. So Hostable, let that be your PMS software. Integrate it with Stripe so you can payment process. And I like Stripe over PayPal, that's just me, I have my reasons. Turnover BNB, how do you manage your cleanings? And that's where you're gonna communicate with a lot of your cleaners through there for your calendar. Pricelabs.co. Pricelabs.co, that is my recommended revenue software management app. And I will tell you, guys, I left a lot of money on the table. Please do this. The revenue management software is probably one of the most pivotal points in your business. I was leaving about $1,000 a month per property on the table. Oh, I did not know it. Essentially, when a lot like airdna.co, it would tell us exactly when there was a big event in town and all the other Airbnbs were sold out. then our price would go up, it would soar. You know, we're talking for us, soaring would be like $250 to $350 per night. And I didn't know that. There was no way for me to sit there on a daily basis and change my price to calculate this. So allowing this software to automatically adjust my price based on supply and demand and seasonally, it's huge. It's a game changer. So I literally did not have to buy any more properties, and I increased, you know, everything $1,000 approximately per month. So Trello is a communication app, and this is where you can create different boards for your cleaners, okay? So you can have your to-get list, and you can have them linked to the Amazon link, the Dollar Tree link, Sam's, whatever, and whenever that item is empty, empty in the property, then they can just click on it, and it can be sent directly back to your office. What do you need? What does that house need? And let your cleaners handle that, right? A lot of beautiful things that you can do. I don't have my Trello optimized. I wish I did, but I'm not there yet. It's happening. Still got some more work to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay for even someone like me to be growing and doing this and learning along the way. All right. All right. Guys, if you have a cell phone and you can read this, then you need to take a picture. This is a tech stack. So these are not all the applications I use, but these are a lot of applications that are either recognized nationally or they have been vetted by me or someone in my community. So if you cannot see this from where you're at, then again, ginger.home, H-O-M-E, resurrection, RESURRECTION @gmail.com. That is my assistant. She can send this to you. Just ask for it. This is called our tech stack sheet. And this is, a lot of it is compliments of Miss Sweet Pam Whitworth, and then I grew on that. So getting out of your own way. All right, guys. So you're in the intermediate phase. You're passing this hectic hose. How do we hand off the reins? For me, this is a quote by Ron LeGrand. I just got to tell you this. When you start considering you need help, you're 3 months too late. I know some of you, like, whenever I read that, I was like, I felt that in my soul. Like, oh man, you've been needing help when you've thought that. So it is time. And there's always like that little voice in the back of your mind. It's like, then I got to take time to train them. Let them shadow. Isn't that the best way to learn, is just let someone watch you do what you do best? So let them shadow you. And you know what? Whenever you become an expert level and you're hiring, how do you know when that employee is the perfect employee? They will teach you things about that position that even you didn't know. That's the perfect employee. When you've truly gotten to a point where you want to take this to a new level, you let that person you hire tell you something about the position, okay? So go through the people until you find that person, and they exist, they're out there, and they're professionals, and they're worth paying well. You wanna keep good employees? Pay them well and solve their problems. I've got employees that me and my brother, we've bought them houses and owner financed them to them. We have bought them vehicles, trucks, cars, and owner financed them to them. You solve the problems of your employees if you want them to be forever loyal. We have 22 subcontractors. We have a flipping business as well. I make one phone call. Any of my contractors will be there. I could have a little Tijuana army. Yes, 22 of them. I love them. And they love me, right? So, executive co-host. This is who I have in my company right now. I have an executive co-host. Sometimes this person's referred to as property manager or a reservations manager, sometimes both. An in-house cleaner, so someone who works hourly. I promoted my in-house cleaner, so now I have to find another, but it is a position I have to fill again soon. For now, I'm using turnover B&B like I was. And then a full-time runner. This is somebody who restocks the house, picks up linen, washes the linen. If I have nothing going on, which rarely happens, for them to run errands or pick up for my flips, stuff at Home Depot, Lowe's, how many times you find yourself doing these things? If there's none of that, then there's two other things that can always be done in my business. They can be cleaning or they can be painting. There's so much of that everywhere across the portfolio. So have an in-house cleaner, hourly preferably. They are your property watchdog. They're going to give you lists of what's missing, what is broken, and what needs to be fixed. An executive co-host, they're gonna manage your software and your day-to-day operations. And some people just call a co-host. What makes my lady an executive co-host? Not only is she just managing communication and refunds, she's managing cleaners, communication, refunds, restocking, everything. She's managing the business. She's replacing me. And my runner, I told you what they do. Let's see. Oh, a place where you can save some money. Instead of paying for a bug sprayer, a company, pest control company, to go by and treat your house once or twice a month, usually that's like $40 to $50 per month, have your runner pick up some Indoor Ortho is the brand that we recommend, that most Airbnb hosts have found to be really good, and have that person go by and spray the interior and exterior perimeter of the house like 2 or 3 times a month. They're already going by there all the time. Just add that to their list and save that from hiring a company. We've gotten perfect results from that. All right, so the super relaxed host tips and tricks. I know there's a few people that I spoke to last night that they definitely were not feeling super relaxed about this business getting huge fast because it can overwhelm you. But man, it's hard to walk away from. The money is so good. It's very lucrative, and I felt that in the beginning too. But there's something called a property DNA sheet. This was new to me. I didn't know what I didn't know, but a property DNA sheet is essentially everything that you need to know about that property is summed up in these pages. And I'm telling you, it's got the electric meter number on it. So if that guest calls and says, "Hi, my electric's out and I don't know what to do you know anything about it?" You can hand off this property DNA sheet to a VA in the Philippines. They can pull that meter number, go to the link of the website for the utility company, plug that in, and they'll know exactly, oh, electric will be restored in 3 hours, right? And they can tell that to your guests. That peace of mind passed on, just, everyone feels better, problem averted, right? All that communication got summed up, there's no problem. But everything, filter size, anything you could possibly think of in that property goes on this property DNA sheet, and you offhand that to your employees. All right, so he who markets is he who wins. This was, I've always heard that, but this concept was different for me. I want you guys who already are operating this type of business, most of you probably only have one Airbnb account. Why not have 4? Did you know that Airbnb promotes that? They want hosts to have more than one account because the more times that you are out there putting out ads, the higher their occupancy rate is. They're aiming for 100% occupancy rate. That's how they get paid. So you can create 4, and I'm just throwing that number out there, 4 different accounts, put the same house, a listing at the same address, and then you're going to say, well, wouldn't guests see all 4 listings and say, oh, well, I already looked at that one? Change the primary photo on all of them, and then change the price by 5% across the board. So 5% difference, right, on each listing. Now hop on that property management software and integrate the calendars. You can take all 4 of those listings and combine them, and it's on one calendar. That's a beautiful thing. So you just cast the net multiple times, and you have a better chance of filling your calendar, okay? That's huge. Another thing that you can do is, how do I say this? Well, that's a good start. We'll go there. If you have any hangups with creating multiple Airbnb accounts, a lot of times that is from, sometimes we'll request, like, have a different phone number. Go get a Dollar General phone, get a bat phone, whatever you need to do for that particular account creation. But you can use the same social and same EIN number, however you have that set up on each account for tax purposes, okay? So just something to know. I cannot stress to you the importance of revenue management software such as pricelabs.co. Don't depend on smart pricing. We can get into that, but I'll tell you this, they will drop your price because they'd rather make $30 per night on Airbnb as opposed to $120 a night instead of you having a vacancy, because at least they made something. Their goal is 100% occupancy, and I'll tell you where we're at in our company. Our company is not aiming for 100% occupancy. We are aiming for 80% occupancy at the highest rate. Why? because, well, reasonably, but still the higher rate that we can get, because we have less turnover, less wear and tear on our furniture. We have fewer cleanings. Why not? Why not? So 80% at the best rate that we can get. And we got the best clients at that too. They take care of your properties. All right. These are some of the hottest vacation rental property areas in the nation. And we're not going to go into this, but we've just stepped into this expert field. So once you've got really comfortable at home, you can start investing in other places. And some people do this anyways, just right out the gate, but most people are not confident and comfortable enough to do that. But I will say, if I had a suggestion, try to stay within a weekend's drive to that property, so anywhere from like 4 to 10 hours away, simply because there will be days where you have to put your boots on the ground, and it's not a bad idea to be at least available on the weekends if you had to be. Unique listings, and Michael Hicks is going to talk a lot more about this, but they have collectively earned more than $300 million globally since the beginning of the pandemic. Why? People are not tethered anymore to their jobs, and they're traveling a lot more. There we go. All right, guys, we are getting to the end of this, and I hope everyone learned something. I'm going to talk about a little bit of a personal experience. I want you to start thinking, so now we're in expert phase. We've been making money, cash flow from these properties. We're scaling, we're leveraging, right? We're crossing into this 9, 10 to 20 properties, somewhere in there, and you feel good about it. The systems are working. Your employees are there for you. Let's start optimizing and leveraging these portfolios. How can we make the most out of them? Something I want you to think about, and a lot of people have these, are shelf corporations. What's a shelf corporation? That is a corporation that you created, an LLC, and you put it on the shelf, right? It's something you have, just kind of, a lot of us have those. Maybe you don't have a lot of entities in it, what have you, notes, that kind of thing. But you can take one of these shelf corporations, it's its own entity, and you can put that deed of that property in that entity. You can also put the Airbnb account in that entity's name, right? And collect all the social handles. I told you that the name of my property was the Executive Penthouse of 5 Points. Why can't I collect that page on Facebook, or that Instagram handle, or that, Snapchat? You can. There's like 7 basic social media channels. You can collect them all for free. So do those. Have good books, good rent rolls, and in 1 year, you can actually sell this entire suite. Let's say you bought it for $200,000, put $50,000 in it, so now the property for $200,000, put $50,000 in rehab, now you're up to $250,000. Maybe the value now is $350,000, but you get 1 year worth of rent rolls, it's in its own company, you can sell those positive reviews for a whole year. What stops you from rinsing and repeating and making $500,000 off that? You made money the whole time along the way. You sold it for $500,000. You could start it again the next year. Where do you sell something like this? Where do you even begin? One, there's a lot of Facebook groups where you can sell Airbnb portfolios or houses that are profiting. Number 2, there's a company called www.flippa, F-L-I-P-P-A, flippa.com. Flippa, you can sell a lot of things, operating businesses, portfolios, domains, business ideas, all kinds of things. All right, so this is a personal story I'm going to tell. This is a joint venture between me and my brother, and the private lender who put up the money, he's in this room. And this was a single family property. I want to say it was like 2,400 square feet when we bought it. The going rate rent, if it was on a 12-month lease, would probably be like $1,450, $1,500 a month, right? So we took this house, and we had a private lender pay for the purchase, private lender paid for the rehab, and we converted it into a triplex. Legally done, we got 3 separate meters, everybody's happy. And we are gonna be operating this. We refinanced him out, by the way, he's a very happy man. And so now we have our triplex, and it's become an Airbnb. So the 3 units separately, I told you the single family home would only bring in about $1,450, $1,500. These units are bringing in, let's just say, we already got one booking for $110 a night, but let's just say $100 a night times 30. That's $3,000 per unit per month. I'm being optimistic. That's $9,000 a month from one property. Let's just say at 80% of that. Let's say I have an 80% occupancy rate. Pretty reasonable, I'd say. That's good money off of one property. How did we optimize and leverage that one house? It could have went a whole different way. We took it a step further because that's me and my brother. We're just, we put a billboard out front. So we intentionally saw a house on the highway, and we had talked to ourselves, look, we need to build a liquor store there, or we need to put a billboard there. And we decided to go with a billboard since we did the triplex. But the billboard also bring in revenue every single month, hundreds of dollars. We put in a little exterior area for vending machines, right? So now it's not a lot, maybe $30, $50 a month, but who cares? It's something. And we have a detached garage that we started renting out to a local painter. He paints his furniture in there. Again, it's not a lot, it's like $100 a month, but he's storing and painting furniture, and we're happy with that. He's not bothering our guests, he's not running tools or anything like that. We have optimized this house. And there's gonna come a point where you're gonna get so good at running your Airbnbs, you're gonna see these little nuggets of opportunity. You're gonna say, I see a lot of my solo travelers, they all like bikes. Could I rent them a bike? Could I rent them a kayak? What else can I do? What else service can I provide to bring more value back to me? So this whole house, we set it up like the model I just showed you. What stops me from getting positive reviews for a whole year and selling that whole beautiful suite? By the way, we bought that house for, what was it, Grant? Like $108,000? Yeah, we did great. Oh, it just valued at $323,000. Woo woo! I felt good about that. All right. So to end it here, guys, earn your 5-star review, make your listing stand out. Some extra perks that you can do: provide bikes, kayaks, hammocks, luxury picnics. Ooh, think about that one outside the box. It's a nice romantic date. Bouquet of flower delivery, a s'mores package if there's maybe a campground nearby. You can provide a coupon to a local activity or excursion. We like to provide, and my runner does this in our company, a 1/3 of the way stay gift. I got this from my dear sweet friend and mentor, Al Williamson. He got me started in this game. And 1/3 of the way stay gift is a $5 gift card where they can actually, we drop it off and we don't ask for anything. We just tell them thank you for being an excellent guest, right? So these little things make them feel special. Snack basket, complimentary wine, and a pizza in the freezer when they arrive. Do these things, guys. Tea and coffee station. These are the resources. You can ask my assistant for that. And these are the people I work for, right? That is my sweet baby, and that's my prince. So, all right, guys, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.